Yes,
Can
ma'am.
you see my screen now? Okay. Very good evening to everyone, and thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday evening. Today we'll be dealing with the last topic for our 3-day session. That's tips and techniques to crack interviews successfully. The reason why I chose public speaking and the second skill, the first skill was public speaking that we discussed. We spoke about the importance to present oneself confidently, and I think that's what went in the first session, right? So I hope the previous two sessions were useful in understanding what it really takes you to make a good personality. A strong personality was the second day session. So using these two skills, helps to really go ahead and give a good interview. Try your best shot to perform well in front of the interviewers and get hired in a position where people will be competing. As I told you, there's a lot of competition for all the positions available, and that too we have people with different skill sets coming and competing. So just here to share a few tips and suggestions that can really work out. And again, few points I would be repeating in the sessions that you have done already previous 2 days. So interview is the moment when I utter the word interview, what comes to our mind is just question and answer session. Although that's the basic idea of any interview. The person who's going to hire you, your recruiter, would be asking you certain questions and you have to answer just to find out whether you're really fit into the job, right? So it's a platform where your knowledge, personality, confidence, and attitude all are tested at once. So more than the degree certificates or all the skills that you really possess, and you have the evidence in the form of certificates that that would be verified. All your skill sets that you are claiming to have possessed is something that would be really tested in that session, especially the way you speak, the way you present yourself with confidence, your attitude, and how you carry yourself throughout that particular session. And it's not always one to one. We'll have multiple rounds, and it's sometimes like three, four people, maybe like a boardroom where people, three to four people will be observing the way you are answering questions. And you can really imagine, right, this kind of pressure that would be there on the person to really secure the job, at the same time trying to please the people out there who are questioning them. So many people have strong qualifications but fail to perform well in interviews. What is a major reason for this? Because success in interviews is not only about what you know, but how you present yourself. So this is where the public speaking skill, your communication skills, your language skills, and your personality development plays an important role. So far in the previous sessions, we have dealt with them in detail, and this is where you're really going to put those skills into practical usage to see how far you're able to make your presence felt in that room, basically. Understanding the purpose of an interview. So the interviewer is really looking for certain things in you: your skills and knowledge for the job, your communication ability, problem solving mindset, which is very important, attitude, and your confidence level, and how are you culturally being fit for that particular organization. So again, you should remember that the interview is not trying to reject you. Probably sometimes the questions that's being asked, you might have the opinion that as a person they're trying to reject you out of this position, but they're trying to find out whether you are the right person, whether you're the right fit for the position. So your goal when you're attending the interview is to prove that you are that person they're looking for. And again, keeping in mind the people who are really competing for that particular job opening, probably it might be just one, two, three, or depending on the numbers. We know that if you need that position, you need to prove yourself. And this is the practical part, I would say. Of course, there'll be rounds where you need to, write some exams or things like that. But today I'm focusing on the personal interview where one to one, or you are facing a group of people whom you will be communicating, and where your skills, your soft skills would be tested. So preparation, that's the beginning. Before the interview, you go into this preparatory stage where you will start researching about the company that you're approaching. So learning about the company's mission, vision, their values. I think if you just go and hit their website, you will get all details. It's very important to do this background research and get all the information in your mind, because when you present yourself as a person who is knowledgeable about the company, then there are you build a confidence level, you try to build the trust, right? You'll be able to connect with the people there, and knowing their products, services, recent achievements, having a fair knowledge of the company, because you really want to show that you want to be a part of the organization, and that interest is exemplified, is illustrated in the way you know how much about the company, the knowledge that you possess about the company. and understanding the job role clearly. So reading the JD, the job description, and understanding the requirement and seeing if your skill set, not that every time it's 100% match, but you know that you are passionate to take up this job. You know that you will be the person who will be able to deliver the best, right? So that's just one example I put here. So if it's going to be a company like Infosys, you should know its services, global presence, work culture, also are the other branches, what they deal with, and have they been in the news in the current times, and what is the trend. So this kind of a fair background work will really help you to get yourself set for the interview. So it starts with the preparation stage. And once you are thorough, you get the knowledge of the company, then you should know about yourself is something that I spoke in the previous session, self-awareness, right? So being clear about what are your strengths and weaknesses. Remember, you can never say that you have weakness at all, because in interviews, there are times they ask questions at what you consider as a weakness in you. You can't say that, I don't have a weakness at all, right? You should be able to prepare answers for that, because admitting you can always be proud of the strengths that you have, but also admitting that you have a weakness is a symbol of you're humble and you're trying to say that yes, I'm willing to learn. There are few things that I can work out. Remember, you always feel free to talk about the limitations, the challenges that you're really facing. It's not that you completely give a negative impact, place that kind of a weightage to that conversation, but you're just telling, yes, this is what I feel is a weakness or a habit that I would want to change in future. So you're being humble, you're being open when you share your information related to the part that you consider as a challenge in your life. About your achievements, you should be clear about what you have achieved so far, what have your career goals been so far, and what you really want to see yourself. Probably they might ask questions like this. Is very common. I think if you even Google, you will know the questions that really come in when an interview, what kind of questions you can actually prepare. But then everything starts with a thorough knowledge of your own self. Self in the sense, personally, you should be aware, and also professionally, where you stand, what you do, and what are your goals. So these two set of knowledge, I would say, your personal self as well as your professional self. So what are you doing in these two domains? You should be aware, because this brings a lot of clarity in the conversation that you will have with your interviewer, and also it will help you to bring your thoughts convincingly across them. And when they know that you are clear about your goals, you are clear about what you do in your personal space, what you do in your professional space, I think there a lot of confidence starts building in, and this trust starts improving, right? So always remember, if you don't know yourself, you cannot convince others, right? And also, it's a very persuasive journey that you will be taking, because you're convincing your employers that you are going to take up this job and you're going to do well, you're going to perform efficiently. So there is a level of persuasion that's going inside. So the more you're aware about yourself, the self-awareness part that we discussed in detail, it gives you more power and strength, and it helps you to boost your confidence level. Preparing common interview questions, I think there's a lot of material that's available online. So just take that effort to prepare, because sometimes you can't go there and have an impromptu speech with the people there. They are quite knowledgeable with the areas that they're working in. So it's good that you have certain questions already in your mind, and predict the questions, anticipate the questions, and have the answers prepared. So very basic questions to start off with could be, tell me about yourself, why should we hire you? These are all just very your strength, weakness, where you see yourself in 5 years. And all these are just questions that's there. But don't you prepare the answer, practice the answers, but again, it shouldn't be very mechanical or robotic in nature. We make the conversation more natural, and when you talk about yourself, because the self introduction part is kind of mandatory, right? And it can be asked in different ways. It's not that every time they ask you to talk about yourself immediately. Probably they can ask you to introduce yourself or ask certain specific questions to know about yourself. So when you do that, make sure you give honest answer, be genuine and natural. You need to bring that kind of a flow in your conversation. So remember, the moment you walk in, right from the moment you walk in, even the way you walk, the way you establish an eye contact, the way you carry yourself, your attire, everything is being scrutinized, right? It's not that they tell you, but then you are being noticed. So just keep yourself prepared mentally and physically to face this kind of a situation, where probably if you have 4 or 5 interviewers in that particular panel, you know that you are being watched everywhere. And maybe your body language, the way you communicate, your confidence, each person might note certain things in you. And all this matters a lot for you to secure that position. First impression, yes, I think I told a quote about this. You will never get a second chance to make your first impression. That's really important. And since you know that those people are whoever is there, recruiting you there in that particular panel, you know that these people are completely new to you, they're strangers to you. So they're observing how you're actually taking control of that particular timing that's given to you, right? Because all eyes on you, literally. So you just get one chance to make the first and the best impression. So dress professionally, just goes with personality development we were talking about, dressing according to the situation, according to the needs. So if you are in a meeting, if you are, it depends, right? In the professional setup, you need to dress accordingly, maintaining good posture, entering with confidence, and greeting politely with a smile. So these are all little things that you can do. Your body language again plays a very important role. So all these things are being noticed, and it is not like they just give marks for all this as such, but then they take cues from all this, and it tells a lot about your behavior and the way you will coordinate with the organization in future. So if you are hired, this is your attitude. Basically, it talks about your attitude, who you are and how you carry yourself. So confident entry itself is a positive tone for the entire interview. I think there's a lot of videos available where you see, especially for UPSC interviews and all, I keep seeing the mock interview and all. So, they ask this kind of questions. Apart from the questions, you see everything is noted, the way they dress, questions have even been asked why they choose to wear that particular attire for that day. So all this is being noticed. Remember, you're being scrutinized. So carry yourself accordingly and be confident. Just wear a professional dress where you will be confident wearing that. So something that would give you a lot of positive energy. And communication skills, again, that we have dealt with it when we spoke about the public speaking skills as well as personality development. So clarity of speech is very important, putting your thoughts clearly across that particular forum that you're talking to, speaking clearly and at moderate pace, not rushing, at the same time not very slow, and trying to avoid fillers, right? So you know that you have to be a person who's using your language fluently, having a good command over your language, assuming that it's going to be English language. So work on your language skills simultaneously so that you won't be literally struggling to pick the right word and use it, right? So your flow of conversation should go without any hindrance. And once you start using the language powerfully with confidence, and that itself will kind of quickly tick the boxes that they have, right? So anyone who's a good communicator, who's able to put their thoughts in a persuasive way, in a strong way, and in a very flexible way, I would say naturally, not like a very commanding or a strict, reflecting a strict dictatorship, I would say, but then open to flexible and diverse perspectives, welcoming, and creating a welcoming and warm situation where, as I told you, a part of a personality development. So this kind of features have to be exhibited when you are entering into a conversation, because basically, more than seeing it as a question and answer, remember, you are in a conversation. An interviewer is your interlocutor as well, right? So you are entering into a conversation, and your personality reveals when you enter into a conversation with the person. So the way you listen to their questions, actively listening, the way you nod your head, the way you lean forward, so everything, all these little body language, the non-verbal communication, I could say, plays a very important role. So maintaining eye contact, sitting straight, avoiding unnecessary movements, fidgeting with your dress or your phone, or making them feel, I mean, you shouldn't show your, obviously there'll be nervousness, there'll be anxiety, but then it's important to manage all these things, and don't create a situation where even people would feel uncomfortable entering into a conversation, or intimidating, asking a lot of questions, or they shouldn't feel that you're struggling to come out with answers, right? Because as I've told you, when a speaker literally feels a kind of anxiousness, she or he is creating an uncomfortable situation for the listeners also. So remember all those communication skills that we really spoke for the previous two session, and see to that the interview is just not question and answer, it's also a successful communication that's happening, because you are also listening to questions, you might also be asking questions, it's a good conversation that's happening. And so it's very important that you bring yourself as an effective communicator. So active listening, listening carefully before answering the questions, not just cutting across and jumping to answer the question without listening to it fully, giving the time and space for the interviewer to complete the question, and do not interrupt them when they are talking. using simple and effective language, not necessary that you should use jargons in all flowery language, which is not at all needed. Putting yourself in a clear manner where you use, no need to use even complex vocabulary, because sometimes we think that when we use certain words, complicated words, we might sound very knowledgeable, or you need to use the proper words. That's it. So, and if you're able to make yourself communicate properly and the other person understands what you're trying to say, that's more than enough. So bring in a genuine and natural effect to your speech, and confidence is the key. It has to come out in your every level of communication with the interviewer. So again, being specific with certain statements that you make, because everything that you say, to that person, to your interviewer, matters a lot, because they're taking ideas from you. They want to know more about you from the way you talk, right? So information is being constantly extracted. And remember, they're curious to know about you as a personality. Yes, of course, the qualifications, it's all there in the paper. It's just you've shown them, they have your information. It's already there in your resume. But what they're really looking for is how far you're exhibiting your attitude, because these days people want the workforce to be filled with people who really have a positive attitude, not that and passion, I would say. It's not that they just come work for the sake of working and just getting the money. So we want to look at, as an interviewer, they would want to see who would be ready to travel to that extra mile, who would be ready to do things passionately with the team work, leadership skills, public speaking skills. Oh, they're just looking for all these soft skills, basically, I would say, more than the qualifications. Of course, that is basic, that's important. But I'm saying the difference that you can really create is in the way that you show these skills inside you, the way that you exhibit them. So here, this statement, I am hardworking, yes, but how you can actually, it's very general, too generalized the statement. So how can you actually make it specific? I completed a project within a tight deadline by working extra hours, and just giving some examples of a project that you were actually working in. How were you able to, work under pressure but still come out with positive results is something that you can share as an example. Probably you would have mentioned that in your resume, but just bringing it out there to show that kind of, again, see, you're revealing your passion and the way you want to travel towards your goal. No matter whatever the situation is, you would still want to go ahead and achieve it. And that's what organizations are looking for, not for people who will give excuses, who will give reasons, right? When situations become tough, they want to just give up, or they just want to, run away, or just limit themselves. They're looking for people who are pushing the boundaries. They're looking for people who will achieve their goals irrespective of whatever the situation is. I mean, however hard the situation is. So again, being honest, that's another important quality people are looking out, not just for your job, right? I think even in relationship, that's very important. You want integrity. You want people who follow ethics and value, and they stand by it. It's not they keep wavering and changing, right? So if you say you don't know any particular answer, you need to be honest and say, I'm not sure, but I'm still willing to learn. Probably I would want to explore more on that. Obviously, remember, you can't know answers for all the questions. It's not at all possible, because something else, something or the other, the interviewer might pick up, and so probably they might even end up asking you some general questions which you might not know, and that's completely fine. We are human, and it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to say I don't know, instead of just beating around the bush or creating a picture where you need to say that you know everything, but you end up answering as though you just have some vague knowledge about that particular subject. So being honest and humble is very important. If you don't know, you just tell them, communicate with them. Otherwise, if you try to build a situation where again, they'll keep asking a lot of counter questions, which would be difficult. So that way, they're going to test your honesty as well. You don't know, but you're still willing to learn. You're able to show that, yes, I'm willing to learn more, and I have that passion to go ahead with that kind of a quest. Staying positive, never speak negatively about your previous employers, or don't carry that kind of a negative mindset, which is not really welcoming in a interview discussion. So there will be difficult questions. You need to prepare yourself to handle them, but at times it will be like only at that moment you will be able to know what kind of difficult questions they'll ask. Although remember, you're going to prepare everything, but preparation won't assure you 100% success, right? Because there might be some questions which will be asked out of the blue. That's depends on how you're going to handle it at that moment. So build your confidence and just be prepared to go with the flow and see how far you're able to tackle that. So you can, for example, If they're going to ask you about your, probably the questions related to weakness, you can say, which area did you actually struggle? For example, you can say, I had a problem with time management. It's not really a weakness, but you can say a habit that you would want to work. You can say, even I was struggling with giving myself proper number of hours of sleep, but then now I'm getting better at it. It's not a weakness, probably it is a challenge that you're facing. It's a habit that you would want to change, right? So you can say how you're really working on your challenging issues or problems in your life. This is very important because no one can say, as I told you in the beginning, I don't have challenges, I don't have any problems, I don't have any weakness as such. You must be having something or the other, but how far you're able to handle that? Are you taking any steps to overcome that gradually? Okay, so here I used to struggle with time management, but now I use planning tools to improve. So you're doing something to make it better. You don't say that this is what the issue is, I'm going to suffer with it, and you're not taking any steps to deal with that problem properly. So you are recognizing, in this way your attitude is tested. So you're recognizing that you have a problem, you are humble and open enough to accept that, and you don't stop there. You're taking some aid, right? You're taking some efforts to handle that. So this itself shows a lot about you as a person. So the interviewer will know that if I can hire this person, he or she can, take up the challenges willingly, will be able to work on it and show me gradual efficiency in the long run. So this is how they would be able to make judgments related to your personality. Again, if there's any gap in the resume, be honest and explain how you use that time productively. It happens, right? Because of certain things that you go through in your life, maybe personal matters, but it's fine. You just be open about it and say like what you really did at that point of time. It's not that every year has to be, productive in your life. There are moments where gaps actually happen unplanned also. But then be honest and tell what maybe those years are very significant, must have been significant in giving you certain life lessons, which are also valuable in your learning journey, in your career path. So again, when it comes to salary expectations, be realistic, check out the market standards, do some research and understand what is being paid, and what kind of expectations you can really ask, you can share with them. So asking questions to the interviewer. It's not only the interviewer keeps asking you, you are given chances. Probably you will be given chances. At the end, definitely they're going to ask you questions saying, do you have any questions or anything to be clarified, right? So you need to ask something. It's not that you can say, no, I don't have any questions. That would show that you're not interested at all in taking up that opportunity. If you're really interested and passionate to get that job, you will be having certain doubts that you would want to clarify. So probably you can ask them about the growth opportunity in the role, and how can you see yourself as a successful person in this particular, if you take up this position. Any genuine doubts related to the particular job, you can always ask them. So this will also help the interviewer to know that you are really interested in taking up this particular opportunity. It will show your interest and seriousness, right? So after the interview, probably, yes, you need to thank the interviewer. That and all goes without saying, courtesy. And you can follow up with a polite email if needed, because usually it takes time. They different organizations operate on different timelines. So you can contact the person who's responsible for getting back to you, and then see where your position, what is the status of your application. So reflect on your performance and improve. That is for your own self-reflection. So every interview becomes an experience for you, and you can just think where you really struggle, what are the areas that you can actually improve. And then when you start applying for the next job, you can be aware of those. So don't just keep going for an interview continuously. Try to pause and see after every experience what really needs to be prepared, how far you can be equipped efficiently to handle the interview in a proper way, in a better position for your next round. So just take a moment to pause and reflect on the performance. That will tell you how far you have also mastered your soft skills. So some of there are common mistakes to avoid: lack of preparation. Preparation is essential. Although it's like, there are certain questions which should be asked at the moment. It might be the moment where they'll attack you with something completely that you wouldn't have prepared, anticipated, or unexpected. But that's fine. You still have to prepare, and that gives a lot of confidence, right? No overconfidence. As I told you, don't act or show that you know everything. Again, be natural, be humble, and be honest to accept that, yes, I don't know a particular question. I do say that openly, but show your interest in learning it. No low confidence level will also not work out. Poor communication skill, Avoid work on your communication, giving irrelevant answers, and not asking questions at all. So these are the things that you need to just look into before you are getting into interview. Common mistakes to avoid. And many tips and techniques are there, but then working on your skills and ensuring that you're building on it continuously is very important. So you can practice a lot of mock interviews. You can take help from the materials available online to prepare for those interviews with the questions. Staying updated with current affairs, just with your general knowledge. So you need to keep brushing up that, improving your soft skills, and that's why hopefully all of you are attending sessions like this, and always building the trust in yourself. That is building your confidence and trust in yourself that you will be able to do, wiping away all the negative mindsets and building positivity. And I think I've been reflecting on that in the previous two sessions, right? So that's also very important. Cracking a job interview, definitely it's not about luck. Remember, there's a lot of hard work that goes behind it, right? The preparation, the confidence, and the right strategy. So, what and all we have been discussing so far is the strategy that we really work on to get the things done, right? So, apart from preparation, confidence, staying positive, being honest, staying authentic, remember that every interview gives you a learning experience. In case if you fail, shouldn't be discouraged. That's very important. Each attempt brings you closer to success. So not that everyone gets their dream job, they land on their dream job in the first interview itself. It takes several interviews. Maybe you need to wait for a few months, couple of years, but just don't stop trying. But don't forget to give yourself some time to learn from all the experiences and then go ahead. Because probably when you started out with the first interview, you never had an idea as to how to go and handle tough situations there. But then probably when you come to your third, fourth, or fifth, it should get better. And that's how it is. You keep learning. Different organizations work differently. You will be facing different challenges, but then everything has to be taken as a learning experience, and everything is a revelation of how far you have mastered your skills. Okay, so reading the interviewer more than the interviewer reads you. Okay, so it's probably here a mind game, definitely, because you are entering into a conversation with that person. So what you do is you shouldn't lose your control. Sometimes it's like probably having not been able to answer a few questions. There might be low self-esteem. You'll be struggling to no, probably when first few questions you are struggling to answer, even after they start asking questions where you know the answers properly, there are chances that you might struggle, right? It actually happens, quite natural. But then you need to again, bounce back. I would say the spirit of resilience is very important, because it's very natural when we don't know an answer for a particular question for like more than two times or three times. We feel that we lost the interview, we already lost that opportunity. It happens, right? But then even after questions that can really bring you back to that position, or you have the answers, the knowledge to answer that, you really feel low, the confidence level drops and things like that. But then you shouldn't allow it to happen. So if it's like a very conversation game that's really going on, make sure you always hold your position right, and you bounce back quickly, and show your interest in answering the questions that you know the answers properly. And probably maybe if you go wrong in few questions, or you don't know the answers for few questions, fine, but the one or two answers that you will give properly, creatively, that would strike a chord with the interviewer, right? And would also high chances of landing the job, right? So think about that. And probably when you see a lot of interviews, mock interviews, you will understand it all depends on how far you're able to not give up. You shouldn't allow the interviewer to feel that this person is done, no more wasting time. They should feel that fine, if you ask few more questions, we can still see if this person is trying to impress us, or show that he or she is the right fit for this job. So remember, every interviewer has his or her own personality. So more than seeing that person as an interviewer, see him or her as a different person. So what kind of attitude they are showing, they'll always have the attitude that they know everything. Obviously, they have that knowledge or the power because they are in a position to select you. So if you see psychologically, you feel that the interviewer is powerful and you are powerless, right? Very psychologically, I'm bringing this kind of a visualization. Let me paint this picture in your mind. It's like a hierarchical order, right? Because he or she who's asking you a question is definitely maybe in the HR, or the CEO, or who is in power, who's in a situation to make a decision, right, for you to whether enter into this particular position or not. So you feel little, you are powerless because you don't have the right to go and get the job for yourself. He or she is going to decide. So if you see on a very common basis, it's like powerless. The power strategy really comes in. But then the way you communicate, the way you put yourself across, so you only have these skills to strengthen you and show that yes, you take the conversation in hand once you get the questions where you are really prepared and you can answer. So that's how you balance, right? You don't lose out, or you don't struggle to manage your emotions, which might be impacted by the negative scenario that's created because of the questions which you don't really know the proper answers for. So you wait, you give yourself time, and this way they'll also know that you're not going to give up easily. So this is the whole thing that I would want you to really imagine, when the conversation happens. Some interviewers, again, I'm saying they're also people, right? At the end, they're also human beings, so they have their personality, they have their own attitude. Each one behaves in a different way. It's not that you can always find them kind. There are people who might be aggressive, there are people who might treat you, like if you don't know a particular answer, they might make you feel that you're not fit for the job. So all these things are there, so you need to deal with it. So if some interviews may be calm or a little laid back, they can allow you to speak more than themselves. This also happens. You might feel that you are the one who's constantly talking, but sometimes they might just be observing. They just want to extract information or wait and see what kind of how do you represent yourself, how do you portray yourself, your ideas, your thoughts. So I felt like this. If I've attended few interviews, I felt like sometimes I am the one who's talking more. For one question, I'll keep answering. I feel that they don't really talk, but they observe a lot, is what I feel. So a lot of observation goes on, right? So there are few interviews again who might be aggressive in their approach, might pressure you with a lot of questions. So you should be, at the end, the art of handling difficult people is the key, right? So you don't know whether you'll get a difficult person to handle as an interview when they interview you, or it's going to be a smooth ride. You really can't judge, you really can't predict. And that's why preparation will not give you that 100% assurance. What will give you, that kind of a confidence to handle this situation better would be, you need to be ready. You mean, probably you can just have in your mind, if it's going to be a smooth ride, that's fine. If it's going to be a polite person, if it's going to be, a good interviewer, fine. But if it's going to be someone who's going to be pressurizing you with questions, you should be able to handle them also. Not just handle the nice people alone. That's never a skill. Handling difficult people is what is going to really make you master this strategy, I would say. I think this was also mentioned in part of your emotional intelligence that I was talking about in personality development. So that handling difficult people is also a part of your personality. How do you do that? Remember, when you work in teams, as I was telling, even in my college as a professor, when I was dealing with students, I remember sharing this experience with you in the last session, where the groups and all, they usually form it with their own friends, but I ensure that they shuffle the group so that they'll be able to, they'll also know their classmates. At the same time, they should be willing to work with any other people. It's not that you're comfortable only with few set of people because they are friends, because you are in their friend zone. You should be also able to work with difficult people. And the more you work with difficult people, the more you become better in handling them. And that is also a skill, right? And though very outwardly, no one calls it as a skill as such, but that is a part of the skill, right? Because in an organization, not all people are going to be nice. There are people who are going to trouble us, but still handling them with proper emotional management is really important. As well as this applies even for our personal relationships also. Not every time it's going to be easy for people in the family. It's not that all of them are going to be nice. You struggle at times, right? But the way you deal it with kindness and empathy matters a lot. And at the same time, not losing yourself over the whole course, and keeping hold of yourself together emotionally is also very important. And that way, EQ plays very important role, although I haven't mentioned it. I'm just asking you to think about the conversations that you will have, probably visualize certain conversations you will have, right? Basically, interview is a conversation, and in a conversation, you should be able to bring in all these skills at the same time, because you're not, sometimes multiple rounds are happening, but sometimes just one round where you will have this personal interview, and you just have this chance of showing who you are, or your potential, everything, your talent within that probably half an hour or so. So the time limit is also very less. So if you read the interview properly in the early few minutes of the interview, you can capitalize on, yeah, the psychology game with the interviewer. So if the interviewer is giving you space, utilize to the full. If you're given that freedom to talk, if the person is kind of laid back and gives you opportunity to explain and do everything, make use of it. Just show whatever potential talent that you have, because you need to make that impression. But on the other hand, if he or she becomes kind of argumentative, aggressive in nature, you try to be diplomatic and you handle the situation accordingly. So I think this is how you handle people, handle situation. Once you know how to handle people, I think situations, you can take control basically of the situation. So remember, in an interview, more than the interviewer making an assessment, judgment about who you are as you keep walking with observation, simultaneously and more deeply, you have to make a quick assessment as to what kind of personality your interviewer is. So that's why you need to observe people a lot, their behavior, and that really gives a lot of clues about a person. So it's like, you should take some time to understand what kind of a person he or she is. Probably you can expect more questions from them. You can expect them to ask you a lot of clarifications, or you can just take 5 minutes to understand, like how they are making assessments on you, how they are checking your attitude and personality and all. Similarly, if you are good in observing, if you can make such assessments on them, you can tackle the situation. That kind gives you a prior knowledge to handle the conversation efficiently. Predicting the questions, yes, that's very important again. So when you're preparing, try to imagine what and all questions that they can potentially ask you. So again, help is available online, but still, depending on the situation, depending on the nature of the job, you can prepare accordingly. So for example, see your add-on courses and all, if you're going to say if you've done some course on some program Excel. So again, if you say that, again, imagine the counter questions that will come immediately. If you say that you've done some course on a particular programming, they will start asking you everything related to that, right? It's understood, you will get questions. So never say something which you haven't actually done properly. Just don't mention it in the resume just for the sake of, you've done it. Only if you're really aware, if you've done it properly, you of course have the certificates, but then will you be able to answer if questions are asked related to that particular course that you've completed? So it should be your resume itself should be genuinely reflecting your personality, who you are, not just filling spaces. Because whatever you put there, people are going to ask you something that you might never think that they'll really pick up. They'll just pick that particular information, which you might even they can even ask you about your hobby. You probably would have mentioned that this is your passion, that you do during your free time, you do this kind of an activity. They can just pick that and ask you, what is it? How far you do that? Or it might not be surprising. So this is to know whether you are genuinely reflecting who you are in the resume, or just filling the gaps or filling the space there. So everything that you put there might be questioned. So at the moment, if you say you're done something, a course or something, they'll start asking more questions related to that. So you need to be prepared for answering those additional questions also. So the preparation part should help you, and you should be able to predict accordingly. And again, the self-awareness part is really important, because remember, in an interview, you are selling basically your talent, skills, and experiences. You're creating a self-advertisement, right? So first, you yourself need to know you properly, what you're really good at, and that's what people want to know, right? When they hire you, your experiences also matter. What you've learned from the experiences also matter. So you can also see, probably it's good that you write about you maybe the knowledge that you have about yourself is something that you carry in your uh, mind. You might say that, why would I even want to? I know about myself properly. But when people start asking, even to give a basic introduction, as I told you, even students struggle to do that. When I've shared this last session also, so about strengths and weakness, then they start thinking. Only at that moment they would really be reflecting on their self, right? It shouldn't be like that. Imagine if a person is not able to say about himself or herself, genuinely give an introduction, or say that what he or she is good at, or what he or she is struggling at. How will they, without proper self knowledge, how can they really do any task that is assigned to them? Because they themselves don't know what is their potential. They themselves don't know what their plus minus, their pros and cons. So how far they'll be able to manage whatever that's given to them, how far they'll be able to manage the task that's given to them. So all these questions will start arising. So having a personal journal, I told about this even last session, and preparing for the interview. In that case, you just have to write more about yourself. So what are you really good at? You can just put it in an order, and you can practice as you're narrating it in the interview, right? And you should be ready to answer any questions related to yourself, even it might be something not exactly related to the job. As I told you, it might be a hobby that you are interested in. So if you're doing something, if you're exploring something, then they might just ask you, why are you doing this? What did you learn from this habit? It's not just you just mention it just for the sake of mentioning it. It's something that you really do, that you love doing. So make sure you are thoroughly aware of yourself. Self-awareness being, we saw in the quote, like the last session, in the quote that I completed over the session with. So knowing about yourself is true power. Then only you can actually go about convincing people that you are this person. So sometimes I've seen people struggling to know why they're doing certain things. Sometimes it's a self revelation for them. Only after some things happen, or when we confront them, they say that I don't know why I'm doing this. I really don't understand my own self. Why are you doing this certain time? So happens. Life sometimes surprises, but then you should be able to have certain control of yourself, right? So why I do certain things? Because I like certain things. What are my values? How it is reflected in my life? So all these questions you start asking yourself and note it down, work on it and see, and ensure that you have that kind of a proper knowledge about yourself. So talk only things which make sense with the job. That's very important. So you must have mastered you must have read the JD properly and start arranging and showing all your achievements, your experiences in a convincing way that the interviewer understands that you are perfectly fit for the job. So you don't go and talk about how you won a football state tournament when the JD is asking for any analytical skills. Of course, you can talk about this when the interviewer wants to know about your leadership skills. Obviously you can bring in this experience, because skills like leadership, teamwork and all, it's not really pertaining to the organization alone, but it also into your real life, right? Probably when you're playing a sport, and when you are leading a team, which is not, not related to exactly to your career, but still these are skills that plays out in different areas of your life. So be very careful as to what example you can quote. And that's why, again, self awareness is very important. You need to be aware of your skills, and you need to have certain examples to show that, incidents to quote from your own life, right? To prove that. And yeah, give real life examples of your skill. So again, you cannot mention about a football match for the analytical part, but again, about the leadership skills, if questions are asked, then you can choose to showcase your leadership skills by saying that, yes, in that match, I did that, and I won. I was able to lead my team. That's an example. So real life examples. So you can even talk about your in relation to your career. You can talk about your internships, your corporate experiences, how you handle projects, case studies, everything. Maybe the JD what really focuses on. But these are the basic skills that you can always quote examples from your life to show that you possess this skill. And again, confidence level need to be managed. That's very important. As I've already mentioned, nobody wants an overconfident candidate. At the same time, don't pretend that you know everything. So be open, humble, and if you don't know, accept it and show your passion to learn. So always remember that the interviewer knows more than you. Remember that power play, power game, and they're looking for people who can actually learn, adapt to lessons and experience in their company. So obviously, they know that a person can't know everything 100%, but a person should be willing to learn, willing to be flexible, willing to adapt. And that's very important. And that's what they're really looking for, right? So there's a lot of, see, immediately you won't start the job. Always there's time, there's training that goes before they allot the job and all. So they don't want a candidate who tries to dominate the interviewer or show off more than what is required. At the end, they're just checking your attitude to see whether you're open to learn, whether you're flexible, and whether your person is ready to adapt to the situation. So be ready to answer the W's of the organization. For this, your background research is very important. Why do you want to join the organization? What role and what is your future plan? So even in academia, so if you want to apply for different positions, this is what they ask. What is your teaching plan? What is your research plan? What are the courses that you would want to really introduce? If so, what will be the syllabus that you want to bring in? So all these are things that I've personally gone through to see. These are the questions that are really being asked in detail. So they would want to just see, not just for that particular moment, but also probably like for 5 years, if you are with the organization, what kind of efficiency that you're going to bring in, what kind of unique ideas that you're going to bring into the organization, what kind of difference, after all, you're going to make as you're, taking that position, what kind of difference your presence will make for the team, for the organization, for the work that's available, right? So, what will you contribute? Your contribution, that's important, right? And how far that's going to make a difference. Why do you want to join this organization? Very basic, right? Why not others? Why you want to join our university? So all this is being asked, and background research will help you to understand, or you can also show that you are really passionate to enter into the institution because you see yourself as growing with this particular institution. So you can really bring out the reason why you want to be a part of that institution. So knowing the company, yes, the background research is very important to get a thorough knowledge to show your desire and zeal to join the organization. So it's all about giving an impressing interview, impressing people with your personality, impressing in the sense the impression that you create is not something which is very fake and overdone. It's very genuine and it's very natural. Remember, a passion need not be, passion is always genuine. It need not be forced. The efforts that you take to show to someone that you are fit for that particular job or you really want to be in that particular situation, it will come out naturally. It will never look fake. It will never look forced, overdone. It will seamlessly flow because that's how I believe a passion takes you through. So if you want to really want the job, the way you talk, the way you communicate, it will show. The efforts will show, right? So that will, I think, at the end, that will definitely land you that, give you that opportunity. Maybe it's not that first time, there'll be failures, there'll be moments you feel that even after you're being passionate or being honest or you do everything, still people are rejecting you, happens. But then that's not the end, right? You keep moving ahead, and what is kept for you or what is in store for you, the best opportunity probably is still waiting, the best is yet to come, and that's how you need to have that kind of a positive mindset and move on. So using the STAR method, yes. So there is this behavioral interviewing where a potential employee's past behavior is used to predict future results. So for example, in behavioral interviews, you are given a scenario, right? So candidates are asked to give specific examples of situations, that is quoting from your own life, certain instance where you demonstrate a particular behavior or skill. So some of the questions that I put here. So when questions like this comes, you can use the STAR method to tackle that kind of an interview. So what are the questions probably they can ask you? Tell me about a time when you worked as a part of a team to successfully execute a project, again to test your leadership skill, to test your team, whether you're a team player. Do you have any experience with solving complex problem? If you say yes, you're going to be giving the example, the scenario where it happened. What is a project that you are most proud of, your achievement? If you say, then how did you really come out with that? What really took you there? How did you achieve it? How was the result? Tell me about a time you failed. This can also be asked. So you need to be prepared to give a scenario as an example and then say how you went ahead with it. So what is the STAR method? The STAR method starts with situation, the task, action, and results, right? So in your situation, first you start explaining the situation to them. So according to the questions, it's just few examples that I put there, but there can be many questions, and this can be considered as a option. It can be considered not just as an option, I would say a position where the interviewer can start assessing you from the past behaviors, right? From your past experiences. So if you're a person who's already good in embracing challenges, who's able to work under pressure, who's come out with achievements in spite of tough situations, then they know that you will also be doing the same thing with your organization. You can work with difficult projects. You can, give such kind of good results. So now that they've asked you this certain examples, so it's your responsibility to say the scenario first, explain the situation to them. They do not need to know every detail. If you set the context, that's fine. For example, you have been in a part of a project, it was assigned to you. So just give a background detail. Talk about the task, problem, or challenge that you took responsibility for completing the goal of your efforts. So T task, right? So when you talk about the task, so within that project team, what was your task, or what was the problem that you were asked to give a solution to? What is the challenge? So you need to mention that. And then action, describe the action that you personally took to complete the task or reach the goal. So highlight the skills here. Only action, if you see the weightage here is 60% because the action actually shows what you really do to find a solution for the problem or achieve the goal or meet the deadlines, right? So highlight the skills that you really used as a part of your action plan, the character traits, how it's addressed in the question. And then finally, how was the result? So explain the positive. Obviously, it should have been positive, right? You can say the positive outcomes, the results of your actions or effort, right? It's important to highlight the quantifiable result. So if they are asking, probably, yeah, in the first example that I've given here, you have experience with solving a complex problem, or whether you've been a part of a team to execute a project, you can say what the project is. That's how you start to explain the situation, the S part. And the T is what task was assigned to you and the action you took as a team member. What was the action that you took? Probably you were given the toughest task, but still you were able to do it. You were able to manage people, you might manage time, and you were able to meet the deadlines properly. What was the skill that you brought inside? Probably the communication skill. You're trying to contact other people, you're trying to network, collaborate. So all the soft skills that you really put into play has to be shown out in the actions. And finally, how did the project turn? What was the result? How did the end product was delivered? How was the project? What was the success of the project? What did it really do? You need to explain that also. So if you see, the weightage is for the actions that you take, and if the action is like involves all this, the results will definitely be positive. So this is how, in case if a behavioral or strategy or scenario is given, you'll be able to tackle. So that's one thing that you need to make a note of. So I think with this, I'm ending the whole presentation. Yeah, few things that you can always, I think I can even share the PPT with the organizer. You should remember one thing that, when we started with this entire session from the first day, remember how far the skills that we are dealing with, whether it is public speaking skill or whether it's personality development, how it all comes and plays an important role in interview, right? So it's like interview itself, I wouldn't say, that's why I didn't start the session with cracking interviews, because only when the skill, two important skills that we are talking about, speaking, public speaking skills and personality development, after talking about that, I chose to push this topic towards the end, because those two are really important in building you and making you efficient and preparing you for this journey. So remember, in your career, it's not you. I mean, like, since people are here from academia, it's not just with research, it's not just with your degrees or your exams, your semesters. No, it's more of people. Yeah, it is there. Whatever I'm saying, the degree, semester, exam, yes, that is there. That's something you will do. It's all very mechanical, right? You learn something, you go write and get marks. That's there. But what really helps you to, be successful in this journey is how you deal with people. First, how you deal with yourself. If you can't deal with yourself properly, self awareness, then you will struggle dealing with people. So, dealing with yourself, high self awareness, dealing with people, using proper skills at proper time, and ensuring you improve as a personality, all this is something that will reflect in landing a dream job or a career, and not just achieving the job that you really wanted to. As I told you, it's not the end, right? If you finally you crack the interview, you get the job, you'll say, I'm done with my life. I just have a fat salary. No. How do you perform after that? How do you show yourself as efficient? How do you make yourself stand apart? How do you keep growing in your career is very important. It's not that you just get the job, you're done, right? Because if you have that mindset, maybe in 4 or 5 years you'll start burning out because of the stress and other difficult situations. You yourself would want to quit. But what will keep you making you go with the flow and making you stay happy, adventurous, and I would say really giving you that kind of a gratifying and satisfying experiences, how far you're able to move ahead. There should be some sense of personal achievement, right? Just you're in the same position, you don't work on any challenging projects, you just do your work, it becomes very monotonous, it becomes very random. And also, I mentioned this in personality development itself, you're not really pushing yourself out of the comfort zone to see what you are really capable of. And with that, I'm completing my presentation for these 3 days. Just once again reminding you that it's very important for you to keep pushing yourself out of that comfort zone and see what you are really capable of achieving. With this one life, you need to keep trying out that, never to be satisfied with one point of your career growth and say, this is it, that's it, I'm done. And it's not just about career alone. Probably if you are settling down for a job which requires you to do something with computers or technology, but you have a passion for writing, you have a passion for storytelling, or you have a passion for speaking, you should simultaneously try out that. Probably you can write your own book, or because I'm from literature, I'm giving some examples. It can be as diverse as that, right? It's not that just one uh, career path you have. Obviously you need to work and you need to pay your bills, that's there. But then keep checking on what your interests are, your diverse interests are, and keep pushing boundaries continuously to see what you are capable of. The more you keep testing yourself, putting yourself into that kind of challenging situations, the more yourself will keep surprising you. Only when you try, only when you come out of that zone and keep trying, you will start growing. And that will never keep you stopped. I think as a learning experience, as I told you, it's never going to stop there. You'll constantly keep evolving, you'll constantly keep growing and moving ahead. So the job alone will never give you that satisfaction. You can't say, yes, I've landed the job, I'm done with life. You will start moving ahead and you will check out many other things that you would really love to do, that you are capable of. So the more you discover, it's going to be self revelation. It's really going to be a joyful journey. And I won't say there are no challenges or there are no bad days, or sometimes there are certain things you can never really do properly, but that's fine. You at least try doing it. So that's where you need to keep yourself thoughtful and understand and constantly connect with yourself to know what and all you can actually try doing. It can even be a hobby, as simple as that, not just always with your work or with your profession. It can be a simple hobby that you might try to indulge in every day, which might actually turn into a passion. Or sometimes you see that you have real skill for that. You didn't even know that you could, this can be turned out into a skill, or you can even share it in social media, people will start liking it, or somewhere you that brings a lot of joy. So these are the things you do for yourself to see yourself grow and to see learn more about what you can actually do, and not just settle down with a mediocre, or just settle down saying that this is done, I landed the job, it's done. I know many people who have done that, and then after a few years they really don't want to continue with the job, or unfortunately they keep continuing very mechanically. It's like a routine lifestyle. Yes, it's 9 to 5 job, they just go through all the pressure challenges, and they struggle with balancing personal and professional life. All these things keep happening, and they no longer get connected to the job. It's just done, it becomes very mandatory a part of their life. It's just going, and sometimes sadly even academia, it's become like that. It's the same number of hours, completing 20 hours per week and just teaching the same syllabus again and again. No, there's no room for improvement, creativity, and sometimes no room for personal development also. In that way, our personality, we lose out a lot on personality. So just think about all these things and see where really your self is taking you, the journey of life is taking you. It has much more to it, not just a job, or not just stopping with learning something. The more you start looking around you, the more you start embracing this learning experience, you will know there is more left to learn. There is more and more to explore. So with this, I complete my session, and yeah, that's my LinkedIn. I'm quite active on my LinkedIn platform, and you can follow me to know my sessions, my upcoming sessions related to. I work on diverse topics. To say this, I don't stick with only academia. There's a lot of topics I work with. So those who are interested can send me invitations. I'd be more than happy to accept and connect. And thank you so much. And I'll be happy to take any questions you have. Thank you. I'm sharing my LinkedIn profile ID here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sharing in the chat. I hope it comes. Uh, this is just, I can take much time, but then, to make it short, and I've just put in the important points along. I'll share my profile here. So feel free to get connected. And thank you so much for joining me on a Sunday evening. It's really nice to see so many people turning up because I know we really take off this day for ourselves, but still, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for the feedback. Means a lot. And as much as it was a learning session for all of you, it was a learning session for me as well. As every session, I take it like that. I approach it as a learning experience for me. So thank you all. Yeah, sure, sure. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the wonderful opportunity. Thank you for trusting me. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you all. Have a great week ahead. Thank you.